I am Pastor Nelly Shani, and I minister with Breaking Barriers International, a teaching and counseling ministry on spiritual warfare and deliverance. And we have been studying the book of Acts as we look at the life of the early church. A question to ponder as we study the book of Acts is why we do not see the current church impacting our communities as the early church did. Okay? Where are the miraculous signs and wonders that were an everyday occurrence among the disciples? We saw that even Peter's shadow healed the sick. Handkerchiefs and aprons that came from Paul's body, when they were taken to the sick, they were instantly healed. In Acts chapter 3 and verse 6, we hear Peter telling the crippled beggar, remember we've been studying about the beggar that was at the temple. He says, "What I have, I give you." What did Peter have? Peter had supernatural power. As believers in Jesus Christ, are we bold enough to tell a suffering and lost world, "What I have, I give you"? Do we even know what we have? Today we will talk about the power of testimony. The power of testimony. A testimony is evidence that the Word of God is living and active and changes and transforms lives. In Revelation 12:11, we are told that we overcome Satan by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony. People can argue with the Word of God, but they are silenced when that word has produced results. In Acts chapter 4, we see how the priests and the teachers of the law, who are called the Sanhedrin, were upset with Peter and John for healing the crippled beggar. But they could not argue with the testimony. In Acts chapter 4 and verse 14, it says, "But since they could see the man who had been healed standing there with them, there was nothing they could say." Here was a man who had been born crippled. He was 40 years old, and yet today he is standing before them. So although they attacked Peter and John, they could not argue with the fact that this man had been healed. Okay, so in verses 21 to 22, we see what they did. It says, after further threats, they let them go. What could they do? The man is there, the testimony is there. So in the verse says, they could not decide how to punish them. Why? Because all the people were praising God for what had happened. Imagine yourself at your office and you've prayed for somebody who has been sick and they're now healed. And there's a group of people who are against you. What can they do? Then they see others praising God for what has just happened. So that's why we are told the Sanhedrin could not punish them, because people are praising God for what had happened. We are told for the man who was miraculously healed was over 40 years old.